Hello. I suspect there's going to be quite a few people watching right now who don't know who I am, and that's totally fine. I figured I would start this video by giving a little bit of context then. So, hi, I'm Neil. I'm 22 now. I'm a racing driver, or at least I like to think so. And as you might know, racing is kind of expensive. So, if you look at my feeds, I haven't really been posting much about my on-track antics in about 9 months or so because I haven't really been on track. So, I've been saving up to try and step up into cars, into Formula cars. And as a result, like I said, have not been doing any karting whatsoever. But an event fell into my lap. A couple of my friends were organizing the Delhi Karting Cup. And seeing as I live in Delhi and I was kind of free at the time, what better an opportunity? So this is round one. It was happening on my birthday, which is why I said 22 now, October 6th. And I'm actually recording this on the day of round two because I figured I need to get this video out ASAP before it's too late. So let's just get into the format of today then. So it's going to be there's a certain amount of participants. The actual total number is not really relevant right now, which is my excuse for not remembering it off the top of my head. And basically there's a qualifying session which sets our grid position for the heats. And the heats are like short, like a few minute long races. And those races, the top three of each of those races goes through into the semifinals. And then the top three of the semifinals, there's two semifinals, and the top three from each of those sets the grid for the final. So the goal, really, is to get into the final, where the actual positions are going to be decided. So, as you might be able to see, it's very, very bright right now. Now, this is not my camera. My camera was acting up, and in fact, this day of the recording would be the final day it would ever actually properly record. It was a GoPro Hero 10, and it just stopped working after a while. Which is disappointing, but as a result, I'm using someone else's camera, which they graciously lent to me, but it's also set up wrong. It's set up for night filming right now, which means it's very, very, very bright. But the conditions on the day was so hot that it did kind of feel like this to drive. It was just so boiling hot that towards the end of the day, during the finals, spoiler, I do get into the finals, although from the runtime of the video, I'm sure you figured that part out. From the finals, the black steering wheel was so hot that through my gloves, I was feeling the heat, and it was kind of painful. And in fact, in my heat, I think it was the heat at least, one driver had to retire on the second lap because he started getting burns on his hand because it was just that hot. This is serious business of how hot it is. Generally, rental karting is not that physically demanding, especially if you have done any kind of physical training for motorsport, like you've trained your neck, you've trained your core, you're going to be fine. These karts aren't that fast. But the heat changes the dynamic quite a bit. But anyway, yeah, the whole goal is to get into the finals. And the qualifying session is really to make sure that your attempt isn't squandered right at the start of the day, because that would be really disappointing. Considering how narrow this track is, as you're about to see now, there's not a huge amount of overtaking opportunity. If you're not starting on the front row or maybe third place, inside of the second row, your hope of winning the race is kind of over. Realistically speaking, though, you don't have to win until you get into the final. You really only need to finish in the top three. And that will play a factor in the upcoming races. But first of all, let's focus on qualifying. What am I doing during qualifying? These are rental karts. And every single rental kart out there has faced a differing amount of wear and tear, a differing amount of damage, a differing amount of tire wear. Now, they said that they've given us a completely fresh set of tires and new spares on everything that was damaged. But I've never even driven a fully fresh set on this chassis platform before. So this lap is really about figuring out what the characteristics of the kart are. And I thought I left about a 2-second gap to the kart in front. So starting my first flying lap now. Coming through turn 1, I've caught up quite a huge amount. Now I set up a switchback to try and get an overtake into the hairpin, otherwise my lap would be over. But you can see me shaking my head there. Coming into the braking, I completely misjudged that. I figured, given his the fact that he was wearing a racing jersey or something, I figured he would have enough pace that 2 seconds would be plenty. Because I also was wary that since I was starting at the back of my qualifying group, if I left too big of a gap, then I would start getting caught by the first people who start the lap, if you get what I'm saying. But I was leaving it. I just did that wrong. That was not right. As you can see, cameo from someone who's put it on the wall. But let's talk you through a lap of the Kartamania circuit, because this is now going to be my only qualifying lap. 1 to go. So, coming through turn 1, it's a very wide entry with a super, super late apex. You basically keep the wheel straight until the last second until you turn in, and go straight onto the apex of turn 2. Now, coming into turn, I want to say 4, It's the first hairpin anyway. This one is a corner where you have to be really smooth, but the kart here seems to be too understated to handle that. Then we're completely flat out through the first chicane, and you keep a wide entry for this almost parabolic type corner. You can see the patches of concrete on the tarmac where there used to be huge bumps that have been repaired. That concrete has like almost no grip whatsoever. Even on the apex of this hairpin, which is the main overtaking opportunity, you have to do your rotation super early, otherwise you're going to be understeering out into the wall like that guy was. Now, coming through the final two sweepers, I think I was doing this wrong, but that's kind of something you learn from hindsight. In motorsport, you're learning every single lap. But that's my qualifying session over. We got 2 laps, and one of them was me getting caught in traffic through entirely my own fault. But it was still good enough to start in P2 for my heat, which means I'm starting on the outside but on the front row, which is exactly what we need. Alright, sitting on the grid then in P2, which means the front of the field on the left side. I had a couple of discussions with the guy starting on pole who beat me in qualifying, and we basically agreed that we wouldn't fight each other too much. Both of our goal right now is to just get into the semi-finals, so us beating each other to first place is not relevant at all. Because if you battle someone, you basically are going side by side, and then by definition, one of you at least is not going to be on the racing line at any given moment. So overall, you'd be losing a huge amount of time. Now, through the qualifying result, it was made clear that both me and him had the measure in terms of we were much faster than the entire rest of our qualifying group. So we decided to go single file and just focus on building a gap and getting through it. So, formation lap, almost done. We're lining up on the back straight. I'm weaving to try and get heat in the tires, but realistically it's not as much for that, and more to, as I was talking about earlier in qualifying, get a feel for how much understeer, how much oversteer this kind of kart has. Every kart is different, and the quicker I can get on top of those differences, the quicker I can get to driving properly. Now, coming round the first of the 2 sweepers, the green flag drops, and we are underway. Unfortunately, you can see that because the camera is pointed too far down, but immediately, despite our discussions, I got squeezed into the pit wall from the kart in front, which is just great. That's exactly what you want to see. Great spatial awareness there, but anyway, I tuck in, so we've like single file. And heading down into the first hairpin, I'm already immediately faster. Like, it's not even a slow start. I just have so much more pace. This kart is miles faster than the one I drove in qualifying, which is encouraging given how they were supposed to be equalized. But anyway, I'm setting up a move into the hairpin now. Try and set up a good exit onto the back straight. I do get one. I don't tap him just to make sure he doesn't know I'm there, so it's a surprise once I'm fully ahead and alongside. I give a wave to him, assuming that means we're going to work together with me ahead. But because of the concrete on the apex, I managed to actually slide out and he gets the switch back on me. But still, despite all that, we've pulled a decent gap to the entire pack behind. But I can see I'm a lot faster than that, so I know it's not over. I'm not going to be pushing any crazy moves here, but I'm definitely going to go past if something happens. So, coming into the hairpin, really not going to be doing a gigantic amount of aggressive moves here, but I will be setting my gap up, so to speak. Coming through the first chicane now, you can see Aman Nagdev, one of the organizers of the event, is actually now showing up down my inside onto the back straight for some reason. He actually isn't even a participant of this. He basically was just driving because one of the people who registered dropped out, didn't show up on the day, and he paid for 6 slots to be driving in the circumstance, so he figured he would get in. But he said he would not disturb anyone above 4th place. But this, in my opinion, would be disturbing. But either way, I decided to continue ignoring him and keep driving. Because I didn't want to I figured, especially after he sent it on the inside and I didn't move out of the way, he would stop interfering in my battle for the lead. So that was my assumption. Anyway, coming around for attempt number 3, technically, on the guy in the pink t-shirt, because I do still want to win this race. I am still taking a slightly defensive line going into the parabolic corner. I don't know what to call it. But anyway, I managed to get a better exit, tapping the car in front to sort of signal that, hey, I'm here. Forces him to go defensive, and I've been there before. I know there's no way that you can keep it when you're on the concrete out there. I point him through so as not to lose time, but he lifts out because I think he realized how much faster I am in that moment, and now I'm in the lead. I'm kind of free to open my gap up at this point. And realistically, this is kind of the end of the race, at least the end of Heat 1. I just pulled away further and further and further. Eventually, I think Aman caught me, but again, he's not a participant. It doesn't really matter. If the race result shows that I won this race. So then, ready to go then, sitting on the grid for the semi-final. And as you can see, we're in the big leagues now. Everyone who isn't really up to pace has already been eliminated from the event. So the kart in front is Vansh Chadha. He's referred to by his own racing team as the king in the north. He's very, very, very fast. Like, there's no denying that. And there is Neve Datta on my left. in the black, the carbon, carbon bell helmet, as it were. It's a very expensive helmet. And we basically had a discussion the same way, that the three of us would stay single file and just make it through to the final. Basically being the gatekeepers into what would be the finals, because as it stands right now, the three of us would make it through and everyone behind me would not. But since we have a little bit more time this time, I thought I would try to explain what I'm exactly doing on the formation lap. So, you can see me doing a little bit of weaving. You can definitely see me going to the extremities of the steering while I'm full on the throttle. This isn't as much to build tire temperature because it was already boiling hot on that day. It was more actually to develop a sense of the balance of the kart. Is the front end the limitation? Is there not enough front grip? Is there not enough rear grip? What exactly is the circumstance here? Does it handle bumps properly? Does it step out when I'm on throttle with max steering? All of this is important to know. But I think I've got a good feel for that now. Coming around the final corner, the green flag waves and we are underway. I get fully alongside Neve right now, but I back out so as not to be side by side going into the first corner because that leaves us open. I get rear-ended one time. Twice I hit Neve as a result. I get shoulder pushed all the way into the barrier and that damaged my tire rod, which gave me 2,000 rupees worth of damage, which I was not happy about. But as you can see ahead, a similar thing happens and a guy gets sent completely up into the barrier. And that brings out the red flag, which seriously saved my ass. I cannot explain to you how annoyed I would have been if I got sent home early because of that. If that is how, not because of pace, not because of racecraft, but because I just got completely smashed into the barrier, had to pay for damage, and then got sent home. Luckily, the red flag came out. The bro over here somehow managed to spin under red flag and put it in the wall, which is just a stellar performance. But we get to go again. We start in our grid positions and we stay. And for those who are wondering, yes, it was a pretty big incident, but the guy was okay. So let's take a look at the action from track side then. As you can see, me in the purple suit and helmet starting in the second row. Get a decent start actually, completely jumped the row behind me, fully alongside Neve in the black helmet. Still just kind of tucking in to not be side by side. Now I got pushed from behind, which pushes Neve out of the line, and I got completely shoved into the barrier, which is it's just great. This is exactly what you want to see. But in front of me, if you notice, they just get completely sent into the barrier there. I didn't really quite get to see it because I was too busy focusing on my own incident. But it was a pretty big incident, sizable one. Luckily though, he was able to get out and he was completely fine. But it was a DNF for him and a harsh penalty for the kart who was deemed at fault for that incident. But that means we get to do another start and I get redemption. I get redemption time again. A little bit of weaving. The tires are kind of up to temperature already. They don't really lose temperature when the track temp is this hot. But coming across the final corner then, the green flag waves late start this time. I still got a better reaction than the one from Neve, but again, I back out so as not to go side by side through the last corner. Get rear-ended once, get rear-ended twice again, managing to hit Neve in the process, but I'm able to lift out so as not to gain an advantage. But the guy who hit me gains the advantage and points me back through, but then closes the door, so I can't really take the position back. Now I try to set up a switchback and I realize I'm under threat from the kart behind. So now this is a problem. Now I'm officially under threat of elimination. I'm not going to make it into the finals as it stands. So the goal is to really just get the position back ASAP, because the longer the race goes, the damage I got during the first start will just make the pace differential greater and greater and greater. So the longer I leave this overtake, the lower my chances of getting the position back. So now going flat out, coming onto the first flying lap of entering turn 1, taking a tighter line than the kart in front, coming into turn 1 now, decent exit from turn 1 and onto 2, heading down onto the hairpin, cutting the distance here so as just to appear as a threat to the kart in front, still nowhere near being able to make a move, so I'm just trying to tuck in right now. And still, I've managed to sort of not be under threat here, but this is not good, because as it stands, we'll settle in. So I'm still trying to do everything I can to make sure whenever he looks back, he sees me, because that will sort of... He already has demonstrated he's capable of making mistakes, given that he's spun off under red flag. So he definitely is susceptible to my psychological games. But coming on to lap 2 now, we are much, much closer. He got a warning for that incident, as you could maybe have seen from the black and white flag on the start-finish straight. Now, coming into turn 1, once again taking a tight line, being fully settled for the exit onto turn 2 now. He gets a bad one, so I'm bumper to bumper with him coming out of the first hairpin. This will leave me an opening, but he closes the door, so I try to set up a switchback, and as this happens, I get rear-ended, which I was not best pleased about, which kind of ruined my chance here. He managed to get the momentum advantage by doing all that, and that killed my run so hard that realistically every lap from now, as you can see in this quick montage, which for some reason is really low quality, one lap, then the next lap, then the next lap, he pulled away and I wasn't able to take the position back. So my finishing place on track was 4th place, but thankfully he got a penalty for that lap 1 incident, and my GoPro in its last recording was able to use as evidence. and I was able to get promoted one position so that I'm in the final now. Now, the GoPro did not record at all for this one, so we're going to be fully off board for this one. Starting at the back, I get a slingshot run coming into the first overtake, so I'm already past the guy in last. Now, Arman in the the neon yellow helmet, I'm up the inside of him. I managed to take the position in lap 1, and my dad starts yelling at the track stuff to get out of the way, so you kind of don't get to see what's happening in the first hairpin, but I lose the position back again because I tried to take the position on the kart in front, and that didn't quite work out. But I managed to take it back again on the exit, kind of getting breathless here from the commentary. So that is us into P4 as it stands right now in lap 1. But Arman in the yellow bell helmet has managed to get a good run on me up the inside. Does he go for the move though? Because realistically being on the inside of the hairpin is not a wise decision. Coming out on the exit of the back straight into the final sweepers, just about seemingly, he's taken the position over me. So I'm back into P5 right now. Not quite great, but this is actually the second start. The first one was aborted because it seems that Neve had issues with his kart, and he is getting swallowed up right now by the pack. So realistically, I saw Arman was really fast, so I was hoping that we could use him to sort of move forward through Neve. So I was focusing purely on just making sure the momentum is just relentless, because the moment you let off mentally in karting, that momentum is impossible to get back. I'm not even just talking about physical momentum, it's more even just mental momentum. So I can't let anything up right now. They are going line of stern into the hairpin right now, Arman and Neve that is, and they are coming side by side through the final 2 corners, which has just brought the gap down each time they do that, coming onto lap 3 right now. Each time they do that, I'm going to get closer and closer and closer and closer. So just to keep consistent, I need to just stay there, ready to take the position at moment's notice. Now, Arman is going to be in striking distance coming into the hairpin. He goes down to the inside but backs out of it at the last second, but that's brought me fully alongside. Now, we're going to be in a 3-kart train, nearly nothing separating any of us. Fully in, I'm in the battle for the podium right now as it stands. Arman sees that there is a move on. He goes to the outside of the hairpin, and I try to take the inside so as to be able to capitalize on any incident that happens, but that doesn't really work out that well for me because of the concrete patch on the apex, as I've mentioned time and time again. It was a really characteristic moment of that whole day. But now back as we were, continuing as we are, I take the outside line such as to be able to get a momentum advantage going into the hairpin if anything happens between them, but nothing has happened quite yet. Arman stays behind to try and stay in striking distance for the hairpin, but he wasn't quite there, and yet he blasts his way past and just nudges is a strong word. You could hear impact there. Honestly, looking back at this footage, I don't know how he managed to get away with that without a penalty. That was crazy. But me trying to capitalize on the momentum disruption of Neve, I try to see if there's a sniff of a look I can get up the inside of the hairpin here, but the kart in last place right now tries a move on me, which I have to defend from, which subsequently thwarts that attempt. But it was at this point that Neve kind of realized his kart deficit, while it wasn't great, it wasn't that bad either. So he decided to just focus on driving perfectly. So the only thing I could do right now was to do the same. Go tit for tat and drive perfect lap after lap after lap to try and build up the psychological pressure. The closer I can get, as you can see, every single lap we go, I'm slightly closer. I'm staying to the outside so as not to show up. When he looks over his right shoulder into turn 1, he won't immediately see me. So it'll incentivize him to look a little bit more each time. And that is taking his focus away from where he's putting his kart, and instead of looking forward, which is what he really should be doing in this moment now. Coming on to the final lap, let's realistically go on board with him, because I think it really illustrates the point that we are trying to get at right now. Coming into the hairpin, he takes a check back once on the apex, once on the exit. Coming to the first chicane, thankfully at least now he doesn't check back. He checks back on the exit of that. Now coming into Parabolica, which I've decided is the name of the corner, he takes such a tight entry so as to defend. He checks back and he forgets to look forward. He forgets to straighten out the wheel. Now this gives me the momentum. I'm on the outside now. He goes defensive, comes onto the concrete patch, gets a snap of oversteer now. He can't really do anything. I'm just about alongside on the right side. Coming into the final 2 sweepers, he's jumping in the seat to try and get momentum, but I've just about pulled my nose ahead, and I thought it's the last lap of the last corner. I'm going to go flat out. If we crash, we crash. And I take the position. I take 4th place. Honestly, last corner, last lap overtake to take 4th place in the Delhi Karting Cup Round 1 on my birthday. And honestly, what a race from Neve. He did such a great job. It was just at the end of the full heat fatigue, the full race fatigue. It was a long day. It was very hot. And I managed to just get under his skin that tiny amount that he got distracted looking behind, and I got to take that position. So it was a great race. I was so happy with it. And yeah, that's about it. That's how the race went. As of the day of uploading this, round 2 is tonight. So wish me luck, everybody, and thank you for watching.